Part 26. Adorable Baby, The Miracle Doctor is So Awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 251. A group of people immediately covered their chests and looked at her with expressions of disobedience, as if she was a bully who molested women from good families. Yo, it's really strange that this group of killers still value their own moral integrity so much. Take off. Shenyazi spat out one word indifferently, as if she would do it herself if they didn't take off. Xiaoming was angry, helpless, and desperate. She reached out tremblingly and took off the robe on her body. Others did not dare to delay any longer and began to take off their clothes one after another. Shenyazi thought there was nothing underneath their robes, so he hesitated, but it turned out that they were clearly dressed neatly. So, were they afraid of showing their faces? She looked at them one by one and couldn't help but be a little surprised. The leader, Xiaoming, is actually a young boy who is quite handsome. The others are also not very old. They are all strong young men in their teens and 20s, but their faces are a little pale. I don't know whether it's due to malnutrition or lack of sunlight all year round. They all look like humans and dogs, so why are they committing murder and stealing goods? Shenyazi shook his head, as if he was giving a lesson to the errant young man. Fortunately, you met me and had the opportunity to abandon the darkness and turn to the light. You will work hard in the future, and the future will be bright. Shenyazi patted Xiaoming on the shoulder. Xiaoming and his subordinates felt confused after hearing this. Unexpectedly, Shenyazi changed the topic in the next sentence, come and hand over all the valuable things on you. Asterisk. Boss, are we really going to stay here and be driven by that woman? After Shenyazi left, a subordinate rushed to Xiaoming Dao. Xiaoming kicked the stones under his feet irritably, if you are not afraid of death, just run. Think about how Xiaoming, one of the 4 envoys of Netherworld Pavilion, used to be so wanton, but now it's better. He made a mistake and was caught by the mission target and used as a coolie. If this was passed back, the other 3 guys would probably laugh out loud. After hearing what he said, the others did not dare to say anything for a moment. Shenyazi returned to the small building, still thinking about Xian Xiangfeng. When did she fall into other people's ways? She has only been to Gu Switting's place during this period. Could it be that? Shenyazi found out the bet he had won from the guards of Prince Chen's mansion, and there was a piece of fragrant jade in it. What did Sun Sanwu say at that time? Use this fragrant jade to diffuse your clothes, and the fragrance will last for several days. Just when she took out the fragrant jade, the incense-seeking bees in the small bamboo cage became particularly active, trying to pounce on the fragrant jade. Haha, that's it? A cold light flashed in Shenyazi's eyes, and he sent the video of Xiaoming's confession that he had just taken to Gu Switting, and told him what he had discovered. This Sun Sanwu must be a spy, but he is really well hidden. If it weren't for this time, he might still be dormant in your house, passing news to the outside world. After Gu Switting received it, it almost triggered a tsunami in his heart. He was almost put in danger because of the people under his command. A bloodthirsty red light flashed in his eyes. He calmed down and said, Zhizi, I've got you involved. Implicated? What are you talking about? Aren't we one? Shenyazi pretended to be angry. Gu Switting stroked her face in the shadow stone, and her mood obviously improved because of her words. Sun Sanwu, I don't care what you do, but over at Yuming Pavilion, don't move for now, I have other plans. There was an evil light in her eyes, and she was obviously planning something bad. When Gu Switting saw her, his heart felt hot. He couldn't resist her appearance at all. Okay, it's all up to you. Early the next morning, Xiaoming and others were surrounded. First of all, they appeared too suddenly, and secondly, the appearance of this group of people is beyond average, especially Xiaoming, who is as handsome as the blazing sun. How can he not attract attention? Xiaoming felt uncomfortable for a while. In their profession, they were most afraid of other people's eyes, but now she and others were being looked at like monkeys. If it were normal, one glance from him would frighten the weak people who dared to watch him. But now, thinking about the imprint left on his consciousness, he was scared. Now that his life and death depend only on other people's thoughts, how can he get so crazy? He couldn't even have dark thoughts, otherwise he would be dead if the woman noticed him. Xiaoming tried hard to recite the Pure Heart Sutra silently in her heart, and finally prepared herself mentally and came to Amu. Miss Shen asked you to give us jobs. Amu looked surprised and said, "Okay, come with me. I will take you to Manager Xiao San to burn the work badge first." Work license. What is that? Xiaoming had doubts in his heart, but he didn't bother to ask so as not to appear strange. A group of subordinates followed him obediently, acting as a moving background. Shen Yizi had already handed over the affairs of Xiaoming and his group to Xiao San, so when he saw Amu bringing people, he immediately burned their work badges for them. Holding the small wooden sign, Xiaoming frowned heavily. What did the woman mean? Let him be the dignified envoy of Netherworld Pavilion working for her with a group of slaves. Xiaoming couldn't guess what Shen Yizi meant, so now he could only stand still. After all, life is in other people's hands. For this new group of workers, Amu was worried that they would be restless at first, but when he came down in the morning, he saw that they were honest and did not make any trouble, so he was a little relieved. The experience this morning was really novel for Xiaoming and others. In the past, they only did things like licking blood from the edge of a knife, and their spirits were always in a state of tension. However, now, perhaps because they know that their lives are in the hands of others, no matter how bad they are, they will not be able to do anything bad, but there is a feeling in their hearts. The broken jar is solid. Digging soil, gravel, weeding, transporting wood, these are completely mindless hard work. How can you actually enjoy it while doing it? How can you be so fat? Don't worry about enemies suddenly coming to your door, or losing your life suddenly in any mission, you just need to work step by step. At mealtime, you can have a hot and substantial meal in peace. Days like this actually gave Xiaoming a feeling that seemed good. No, 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 how could he think so? He must have been deceived by the food in the bowl. With this thought in mind, he took another big mouthful of rice. It smells so good. Compared with the food here, the food in Yuming Pavilion is like pig food. A group of subordinates gathered around Xiaoming, all of them devouring the food and eating deliciously. One of them quickly finished a bowl of rice, got up and walked to a shed not far away, came back with another bowl of rice, and continued to make waves. Bien Fortress said vaguely, "Boss, I think it's pretty good to stay here. There's no danger, and the food is so good." Others agreed and nodded in agreement. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 252. Xiaoming picked up the rice and said, "What's so good? A bunch of losers. We are people who want to do big things, and we bribed you in just one meal? What a shame." Subordinates. Before saying this, would you please put down the bowl of rice in your hand? Shen Yizi was surprised when he noticed the obedience of Xiaoming and others. Shouldn't these people be thinking about how to escape and kill them? How come half a day has passed before I became addicted? She felt that there must be something fishy here, so she took advantage of her lunch break and came over to inspect it. Passing a cooking shed on the way, she went in to take a look. The shed is not far from the construction site, between two big trees. Inside is a temporary stove. Although it is only a small space, it has been tidied up and clean without a trace of clutter. This alone made Shen Yizi very satisfied. The person in charge of cooking is a girl named Azu. She is in her early 20s. She is very delicate and good looking. She is small but very strong and is very good at cooking. He was also one of the slaves. Because of his good cooking skills, he was selected by AMU to cook for everyone. 2 more half-year-old children were selected to help her. As for the ingredients for cooking, the vegetables can be picked directly from the vegetable garden, and the rice and noodles are bought by Shenyazi from the village for them. At present, the grain harvested in the village is basically not sold to the outside world. Except for part of the tax paid, Shenyazi purchased the rest. She has so many people to support now, and she has to buy food anyway, so why not buy it directly from the villagers? As for the products in the space, she will not take them out easily. Shenyazi told Azu that there is no need to save her money, just do it with confidence and boldness, let everyone eat well and keep their bodies strong, so that they can work better for her, right? Azu really couldn't let go at first. Firstly, she had lived a hard life and was used to budgeting carefully. Even if the food was not her own, she still wanted to save as much as she could. Secondly, she was also afraid that she and others would eat too much and make Shenyazi the owner dissatisfied. After receiving her instructions, my heart was relieved. The master is right, only if they are well fed and strong can they work better for her. Azudun felt that he had a heavy responsibility on his shoulders and vowed to use all his skills to cook for everyone. So the meals for these 2 days were well received by everyone. When Shenyazi entered, Azu was sitting around a low table with 2 children who were helping the kitchen, eating. Seeing her, several people quickly put down their bowls and stood up. "Girl." Shenyazi smiled and said, "It's okay, I just came over to take a look. You can continue eating and don't worry about me." Even so, Azu and the others were still a little cautious. Shenyazi looked around and saw that the portions of the food were quite large and the dishes were rich, including meat, vegetarian and soup. He nodded, "Well, that's it. Let's continue. Keep it up. In the middle of the afternoon, you can make a pot of sweet soup and make some snacks to satisfy your hunger." Aju's eyes flashed with tears, and he responded with a smile, "Yes, girl. How virtuous and capable they are, meeting such a master. The girl is so kind, they should work harder to repay her." Azu was instantly full of energy. Xiaoming was eating her rice when suddenly a shadow fell over her eyes. When she looked up, she saw Shenyazi standing in front of him, looking at him with a smile. An idea popped into my mind at an inappropriate time, King Chen's woman is quite pretty. Realizing what he was thinking, his face suddenly turned red, the rice choked in his esophagus, and he broke into an earth-shattering cough. Shenyazi handed over a water bag. "Why, are you surprised to see me?" Xiaoming took the water bag and drank it hard. Finally, he stopped coughing, but his face was still red. Hearing her words, he seemed to have been exposed, and choked. "What are you doing here? Do you want to see my joke? It makes me angry to think that this dignified monk in the late stage of qi refining is actually using magic as a porter here." Shenyazi shook his head, "I'm not that boring." Xiaoming was confused. "How are you doing, are you still getting used to it?" Shenyazi asked again. Xiaoming snorted coldly and turned to grab the rice, ignoring her. "Originally I wanted to say that if you do a good job, I might be merciful." Shenyazi deliberately slowed down his speech. Seeing Xiaoming secretly pricking up her ears, she felt that this kid was a little cute. "And your day job career as soon as possible." Xiaoming curled his lips. It didn't make any difference to him whether he worked for free or not. He didn't take the small amount of wages seriously. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Shenyazi took out a body-tempering pill and shook it in front of him. The refreshing fragrance of the body-tempering pills instantly caught Xiaoming's nose, causing him to turn his head unconsciously. "What's this?" Shenyazi said leisurely, "After taking the body-tempering pill, you can cleanse the muscles and cut the marrow, and expel impurities from the body." Xiaoming's heart skipped a beat. The master said that he has a pure yang body that is rare to see in 1,000 years, and he has a unique thunder spirit root. If he were born in the upper world, with his qualifications, he would have broken through the foundation building stage long ago. Maybe this time I'm already reaching the golden elixir stage. At the golden elixir stage, that was a state that he could not even imagine. But being trapped in this Tianyuan world with thin spiritual energy, he may not be able to cross the foundation construction period in his life, because this is a restriction set by heaven. But maybe his qualifications are really good, and his cultivation speed is much faster than others. It just stopped here. After reaching the 8th level of chi refining, his cultivation stagnated. His meridians seemed to be blocked, and his spiritual energy moved extremely slowly. Master said that it is caused by excessive accumulation of impurities in the body. When people eat whole grains, the turbid chi in the body sinks and accumulates in the meridians. This is inevitable. Unless you are eating delicacies made from spiritual materials, not only will impurities not accumulate, but it will also help your cultivation. How can spiritual materials be so good? Alternatively, you can live without grains, and your body is completely nourished by spiritual energy. In order to break away from the valley, it is necessary to break through to the foundation building stage. This creates an endless cycle. To be honest, among those who cultivate immortality, who doesn't dream of becoming an immortal and achieving immortality? It's just that the actual conditions don't allow it, and Xiaming's attempt to achieve immortality is useless. But now, a body-tempering pill appeared in front of him. Taking the body-tempering pill will eliminate impurities from the body and increase the speed of cultivation. Almost instantly, he thought of the benefits that getting this body-tempering pill would bring. But, will this woman give it to him so easily? Do you want it? Shen Yizi asked with a smile. Xiaming couldn't say she didn't want to go against her will, but when she saw Shen Yizi's determined look and didn't want her to succeed, she kept her mouth shut and said nothing. No? Then I'll take it back. Shen Yizi made a move to take back the body-tempering pill. Xiaming's consciousness was faster than his body, and before he could react, he had already grabbed the body-tempering pill in his hand. Just holding the pill, it was a bit unreal for him to grab it so easily. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 253. Is this woman teasing him? Or, is this not a body-tempering pill at all, just a pill she made casually? Maybe it's not even a pill. Xiaming's expression kept changing. If you take my things, you must work hard for me, young man. Shen Yizi patted him on the shoulder and Shi Shiren left. She certainly did not give out this body-tempering pill easily. If Xiaming takes it and tastes the benefits, he will definitely want more. Are you afraid that he will not be able to conquer him? Although he was imprinted with divine consciousness and had to obey her, there was still a big difference between active and passive. If a monk at the 8th level of chi refining can be made willing to be driven by her, wouldn't it be equivalent to having a powerful subordinate? Furthermore, as Xiaming's strength increases, her work efficiency will also increase. Isn't she the one who will benefit in the end? So it's not a loss if I give this body-tempering pill away. After Shen Yizi left, Xiaming took the pill and fell into a tangle. Should he take this pill? The working hours set by Shen Yizi for everyone are from morning to noon, that is, from 7 to 11 o'clock. It is autumn now. It is very cool at 7 o'clock. After 11 o'clock, the sun is high and it is still very hot. Just avoid it. In the afternoon, it is from noon to unitary hour, 1 to 5 o'clock, with a 2-hour rest period in between. After lunch, you can also take a nap. After a full nap, you can go to work refreshed. After 5 o'clock, you can get off work and go back to your home. At the beginning, everyone was a little scared, but now they have initially adapted. After lunch, everyone gathered in groups and went to the waterside, washed their own dishes, and then each found a shady place to lie down, chatting about the mountains, or taking a nap. If you are pursuing something, you can still read the book, recognize the characters and so on. In short, everyone has their own things to do, and everyone has enjoyed the benefits of lunch break. Xiaoming and a group of subordinates came to the foot of the mountain, found a strong tree, jumped up and lay down on the branches. The autumn sunshine is not scorching, it shines through the branches and leaves, and shines on the body making people drowsy. Xiaoming held the body tempering pill and looked at the sun. Finally, he decided to eat it. His life was in that woman's hands. If she wanted to die, why bother? Just one thought can make him go to see the king of hell. So this pill should be fine. It can even cleanse the muscles and remove impurities, as she said. Not long after taking the pill, Xiaoming's expression changed, and she hurriedly got down from the tree and ran towards the toilet. When he came out of the toilet, his legs were weak and his body was filled with a foul smell. There is still a layer of grey dirt on the skin. At this moment, he despised himself extremely, there were so many impurities in his body. No, he had to find a place to wash himself quickly. There are many water sources in the countryside. Lakes, ponds, rivers, ditches, etc. can be seen everywhere. Xiaoming avoided people and quickly found a stream. He jumped in and rubbed himself from head to toe. The clothes were dried using magic. When he came out again, he was a handsome and beautiful young man, his skin was 1 degree whiter than before. The most important thing is that he felt that the bottleneck he had been in for a long time had been loosened. Xiaoming shook his fist in the air to vent the turbulent emotions in his heart. When he returned to the construction site, there was nothing strange on his face. But he had already made up his mind to work hard and try to get more pills from that woman. He had a hunch that the woman might have other good things in her hands. Think about it, wasn't Shen Yizi's intention in giving him the pills? But this was a conspiracy, and even if he knew that she had plans for him, he couldn't refuse. In this case, let's wait and see. Let's see whether he falls into her trap in the end or whether she fulfills him. As for the mission of Netherworld Pavilion, is out of his scope of consideration. At worst, the deposit will be returned to the guest. If Hua Yuan knew that he was so unruly, I wonder if he would be so angry that he would vomit blood. Having made up her mind to perform well, Xiaoming's work enthusiasm was as high as ever. His attitude also influenced many of his subordinates, which caused the project progress to speed up a lot. After Shen Yizi heard about it, he was very satisfied and asked Zhu to give everyone extra food. Xiaoming lived a leisurely life as a construction worker here, but Nether Pavilion sent another group of people to inquire about the news because they had not received a reply from him for a long time. As a result, there was no return, and they were all captured by Shen Yizi's soul control technique. Shen Yizi directly handed over the new group of people to Xiaoming and asked him to do ideological work for them. I don't know what he said. Those people quickly gave in and worked happily on the construction site. There are now more than 60 people on the entire construction site, and half of them are masters of martial arts, and there are several monks including Xiaoming. Letting them work as construction workers is really overkill, but it is really good use. They are strong and fast, and one can hold up 3 or 4. Shen Yizi saw that the land was cleared, the foundation was dug, and the wood and stones were all ready. Then the actual construction could begin. She stood on the second floor of the small building and looked into the distance, imagining what the villa would look like when it was built, and her heart was filled with excitement. Netherworld Pavilion. Chunming stroked the cat without changing his posture. 10 days have passed, and there is no news about Xiaoming's departure. The second group of people who went there also disappeared, but the strange thing is that they are all still alive. What is the situation? As for the reason why they are sure that they are still alive, it is naturally through the causal lamp. The causal lines of Xiaoming and others are not broken. The fact that the causal lines are not broken means that they still exist in this world. The white cat, Dongming, licked her paws and said, "How about I go over and have a look? I think this woman Shen Yizi is a bit evil. Aren't you afraid that you will fall into it too?" "That's impossible. Although I'm not as good at fighting as that barbarian Xiaoming, but in terms of my ability to escape, I'm the best in Yuming Pavilion, and I guess no one dares to be second." Dongming's tone revealed a little pride. However, Chunming still gave instructions. "You went mainly to explore the situation. As for the task, do it if you can, and forget it if you can't. At most, you can get the deposit back." Although the Netherworld Pavilion has a great reputation in the assassination world, several of the underworld envoys are very Buddhist. The attitude towards tasks has always been to do it if you can do it, and forget it if you can't. There is no need to involve yourself in a task. What's more, the entire Netherworld Pavilion is now being targeted by King Chen, so they'd better keep a low profile. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 254. At the villa construction site, Xiaoming was performing a water collection technique on a pile of wood in front of him, extracting all the moisture from the wood. Those timbers were all chopped back from Qingmang Mountain. Normally, they need to be dried before they can be used, but how could Shen Yizi have so much time to wait? So manual drying is performed. With the water collection technique, several pieces of wood as thick as a barrel will become extremely dry. Soon the dry wood was being transported to the other side for processing. Spells are not very convenient for building houses. However, this consumes a lot of spiritual energy. Take Xiaoming as an example. As a monk at the 8th level of Qi refining, the spiritual energy in his body is often eliminated in less than a day. In the past, he was very precious to spiritual energy and would not use it easily, because every time he used it, it was really difficult to recover. Even if you only cast a simple fireball spell, it will take several days to recover the consumed spiritual energy. Good steel should naturally be used on the blade, and spiritual energy is no exception. This is his way to save his life, and he will not use it unless necessary. But now, with the spiritual restoration liquid provided by Shen Yizi, he can use it with confidence and boldness. Even if his body is empty, a bottle of spiritual restoration liquid can quickly fill it up. In this cycle of consumption and replenishment, his use of spiritual energy became more and more at his command, and the spiritual energy in his body was also growing steadily. When Dongming arrived, he saw Xiaoming happily engaged in construction, and his jaw almost dropped. Before coming, she imagined the situation of Xiaoming and others. He was imprisoned in a dark place, beaten every day to extract confessions, and his body was covered with bruises. However, what she saw now was completely different from what she had imagined. Although Xiaoming and the others were suffering, they were clearly enjoying themselves. Had it not been confirmed repeatedly, she would have thought that they had been taken away collectively. Shen Yizi, this woman is indeed very evil. Dongming became increasingly afraid to take the lead, fearing that he would also follow in the footsteps of Xiaoming and others. He just lay on the tree and watched secretly. She is now in the body of a cat, with a breathing charm attached to her body, and her appearance has changed into that of an ordinary house cat, which most people will not notice. Dongming did not show up in front of Xiaoming and others. When he saw that they were fine, he quietly patrolled the village. After going around, she found that the aura of Jiazhuang was actually stronger than elsewhere. Flowers and medicinal plants can be seen everywhere, growing quite well and full of vitality, probably because they are nourished by spiritual energy. The streets are clean and tidy, and the villagers coming and going are all energetic, not as dull and sad as elsewhere. Children are playing games happily under the big banyan tree at the end of the village, looking carefree. This place is like a paradise, so beautiful that it seems unreal. She couldn't help but slow down her pace and walked leisurely in the village. Suddenly, an extremely alluring fragrance penetrated the tip of my nose. Dongming followed the scent and came to a rather grand house. The plaque on the gate of the courtyard reads Shen family in large characters. This is where Shen Yizi lives? As we got closer, the fragrance became more and more attractive, making Dongming feel itchy. While she was hesitating, a rush of footsteps quickly approached. She subconsciously jumped up the tree and stared down at the two children running over. A man and a woman, both of whom are exquisite in appearance, cutely dressed, and clean, making them look very lovable. These two people are naturally Qingbao and Nian Nian. The two kids played outside all morning and ran back when it was time to eat. "Mother, is the meal ready?" Qingbao ran in. Nian Nian paused, glanced at the tree, and met Dongming's eyes. "Cat," Nian Nian walked over and tilted her head to look at the tree. For some reason, Dongming felt a sense of threat from her. She was obviously a cute and beautiful little girl. "Come down." Nian Nian stretched out her hand towards Dongming and gave it a weak grab. Dongming is arrogant and licks her paws. "I will come down if you ask me to. Wouldn't that make me lose face?" However, his body fell down uncontrollably and was caught by the little girl and carried into her arms. "Dongming, meow meow meow. What happened?" She struggled, but Nian Nian slapped her down. "Don't move, or I will eat you." Eat her?" Dongming looked horrified. This little girl is so cruel. Not only cruel, but also evil. As expected, he was raised by that woman Shen Yizi. Obviously it is a small one, but it can do magic and has such great strength. It is simply unscientific. She was held in her arms and couldn't move. Of course, if she also used a big move, it would be very easy to escape, but wouldn't that be exposed? She is an ordinary white house cat now, and she has to keep her persona in mind at all times. Of course, the most important thing is that the smell coming from the Shen family yard is getting more and more fragrant, so fragrant that the cat suspects that the cat is alive. With a moment of hesitation, Dongming was hugged by Nian Nian. Nian Nian, where did the cat come from? Shen Yizi touched it?" Dongming almost burst into tears, but managed to hold it back. However, looking at Shen Yizi from a close distance, it was unexpectedly pleasing to the eye. She looks very pleasing to the eye, and the aura on her body makes people feel comfortable. But there is no cultivation at all, and he looks like a mortal. But is this possible? How can a mortal keep Xiaoming and the others here and make them willing to work for her? Obviously impossible. Unless there is a hidden master behind her. Thinking of this, Dongming became more and more afraid to act rashly and just behaved like an ordinary house cat. When Qingbao looked over curiously, he gave him a soft meow. So Qingbao also joined the cat-loving camp. Luo Yaoyao has been busy working as a supervisor for Shen Yizi recently, scolding Fang Qiu on the construction site and giving advice, but he will still come back at mealtime. As soon as I stepped into the house today, I saw two children playing with their cats. That cat seems a little unusual. Luo Yaoyao stared at Dongming for a while. Feeling the gaze from the boss, Dongming shivered, gritted his teeth and rolled on the ground, chasing his tail in circles. Just like a real cat. After noticing that the boss's eyes were moving away from her, Dongming quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Unexpectedly, Shen Yizi actually had a close relationship with this person. "It's time to eat, stop playing with the cat, and go wash your hands quickly." Shen Yizi came out with a rectangular pen, placed it on the hot pot shelf that had been set up on the table, and said to the two children. Qingbao immediately let go, put his little hands on the edge of the table, stood on tiptoe and looked into the pot. "Mom, it smells so good, what is this?" "Grilled fish," Little greedy cat Shenyazi tugged at his little nose. The grilled fish uses a whole large carp, which is as long as an arm. It is first cut in half from the middle but still connected together. It is fried in an oil pan until it is slightly charred, and then added to the soup to cook. When the fish is cooked after boiling, add various side dishes to the soup. Green vegetables, vermicelli, tofu, chianjiang. It is a kind of fish hot pot. The aroma that Dongming smelled before was from the grilled fish. Now that the fish was brought out, she felt that the aroma was going to blow off her nose. At this moment, the cat nature in Dongming completely overwhelmed the human nature, making her salivate over the pot of fish. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 255. Shenyazi saw it standing on the foot of the table, looking at it eagerly, funny and soft-hearted. He took a separate bowl, filled it with rice, scooped 2 spoons of fresh and thick fish soup into it, mixed it, and piled some more on top. Put the dish in front of it, touched its head, eat it. Dongming was completely distracted by the bowl of fish soup and rice at this time, and he didn't mind her touching him. She couldn't wait to stick out her tongue and roll a piece of fish into her mouth. Woo, so hot. The cat's tongue is most afraid of burning, but she is completely reluctant to spit out the delicious food in her mouth, so she can only swallow it whole. Not far away, the dog Wang Wang was also enjoying his feast. It ate very quickly, and the bottom of the big bowl was quickly reached. When she turned her head, the cat was still chewing slowly and slowly. It licked its mouth and walked over slowly. Dongming looked at the behemoth that appeared in front of him and immediately raised his vigilance. What do you want to do? Don't come here, or I'll be rude to you. She let out a threatening growl in her throat and stretched out her paws in a bluffing attempt to scare away the big guy. Wang Wang didn't expect the new guy to be so unfriendly, so he retreated to his original position, lay down lazily, rested his head on his 2 front paws, and closed his eyes. Seeing this, Dongming was relieved. Even if the big dog knew what he was doing, if it dared to her fish soup and rice, she would make it bloom on its face. After eating, Dongming ran away. She doesn't want to be reduced to a toy for those 2 little milk babies. However, as soon as it was time for dinner, she appeared again of her own accord. Shenyazi did not stop the cat from eating, and even prepared a cat basin for it to eat and drink. Dongming looked at the cat basin in front of him, feeling a rare feeling of shame. She can be so friendly to a cat of unknown origin, which shows that she is a very good person. It turns out that Netherworld Pavilion actually wanted to capture her alive and hand her over to her enemies. It was really inappropriate. It's time to cancel this task. After dinner, Dongming played with Qingbao and Nian Nian for a while, and then ran out. He ran out of the village and into a small forest beside the official road. After a while, a pretty little girl walked out of the woods. Her skin was as white as milk, she had 2 big cat eyes, and a small pink mouth. She looked like a delicate and beautiful girl who had stepped out of the 2nd dimension. This is Dongming's human body. She casually picked a wild chrysanthemum on the roadside, held it in her hand, and skipped towards Lang Cheng. Her steps were small, but her speed was not slow. 1 second she was still in front of her, and the next she was dozens of meters away. After entering the city, she went straight to Manfaju. Sister Yan, I'm here to see you. Dongming went straight to an exquisite and elegant courtyard and shouted inside before even stepping through the door. Zhong Wein was lying on the sofa with a facial mask on. When he heard her voice, he was startled but did not get up. Little girl, why are you here? I missed you, Dongming said sweetly and opened her mouth. It's strange that Zhong Wuki believed her. This quirky little girl didn't say a single honest word in her mouth. Sister Yan, what are you doing? Dongming looked at her face curiously. Zhong Wuki tapped his face, apply a facial mask. Facial mask. After some popular science by Zhong Wuki, Dongming finally understood it and joined in with great interest. After applying the mask, Dongming looked at her moist and clear face and was pleasantly surprised. This mask is really easy to use. Sister Yan, where did you buy it? Tell me quickly and I will buy it too. Cosmetics are an eternal topic for women. When the two of them talked, they couldn't stop talking. If it hadn't been dark now, Dongming would have rushed to the Red Bean store to buy a lot. Before going to bed, two women were lying on the same bed, still talking about beauty and skincare. Dongming suddenly remembered the purpose of coming. By the way, Sister Yan, help me send a message back. The Nether Pavilion is divided into the Nether Department and the Nether Department. The Nether Department is responsible for making money and collecting information, while the Nether Department is responsible for carrying out tasks. The Mingbu has 4 messengers of spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and the Yubu also has 4 messengers of peach, lotus, orchid, and plum. Zhongwen is Dao, and her younger brother Zhongwuki is Lanyu. Manfaju is a stronghold for the siblings. Dongming wanted to deliver the news back, so he naturally came to find him. If it were in the upper realm, it would be a communication talisman, but here, even a first-level low-level talisman is a rare item. For things that can be solved with manpower and tools, it is best not to use spiritual power. This has been a consensus among the monks for a long time. Asterisk. Buzz 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 dash. In the space, a wooden sign placed by Shenyazi on the bedside table in the room vibrated. She noticed it and took out the wooden sign. This wooden plaque was given to her by the woman named Ayan after she placed an order at Manfaju. There is a resonance poisonous poison hidden in the wooden plaque, and the mother goo is controlled by Manfaju. Simple messages can be transmitted remotely between the mother voodoo and the child voodoo. For example, right now, the wooden sign where Zigo is located is buzzing and vibrating, indicating that there is news from Manfaju. Shenyazi immediately went to Langcheng. After entering the city, he changed his clothes and disguised himself as Shen-san, and then came to Manfaju. When I entered the door, I met a little girl head-on. The little girl seemed to be in a hurry and almost ran into her arms. Be careful, Shenyazi held her shoulders and stopped after she stood firm. This little girl is Dongming. Maybe she was chatting too much with Zhongwen last night, so she got up late today. And she heard from Zhongwen that the cosmeceuticals at Hongda shop are very popular, so she went there late. There was none, so she hurried out without even having time to eat breakfast. Unexpectedly, I bumped into Shenyazi at the door. Yes, thanks to the innate skills of the T-Mall clan, she recognized at a glance that the man in front of her was dressed as Shenyazi Yirong. The T-Mall clan is naturally very sensitive to people's soul aura. They don't look at people by their faces, but through their souls. Generally speaking, everyone's soul is unique and unchangeable, just like a person's genes, so any disguise is in vain in front of her, and she can see through it at a glance. Why did Shenyazi come to Manfaju in this disguise? Did she discover something and come here to find out the news secretly? As a cat, the curiosity is very strong. Now Dongming is so itchy by Shenyazi that he can't even take care of the medicine and cosmetics. He turns back secretly and follows her quietly to see what she wants to do. What? After following her all the way, she saw her entering Rouge Tower, and the person who received her was Zhongwen. In the room, Zhongwen flicked his hand on the table, and 3 jade boxes appeared on it. Master Shen, look at it. The people below just handed it over. Shenyazi opened the 3 jade boxes and looked at them one by one. Inside each one lay a spiritual plant that was in good condition and full of aura. It was at least 300 years old. Well, no problem, this is the final payment. Shenyazi took out 3 bottles of pills and handed them over. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 256. Per Ian's request, 2 of the bottles are body tempering pills and 1 is a poison avoiding pill. Both the body tempering pill and the poison avoidance pill were shown at the Tianbao Pavilion auction, and their reputations were already established. They were later sold in the Huishan Hall. People who bought them and tested the efficacy of the medicine were all crazy about it. Now in the Huishan Hall, these 2 kinds of medicines are bought by the pill. 1 body tempering pill cost 3,000 taels, and 1 poison avoiding pill costs 1,000 taels. These people are still crazy about it, and they often sell out as soon as they are put on the shelves. Bear. In the black market, these 2 drugs have been fetched sky-high prices. Ordinary people wouldn't even dare to think about it. This also shows that spiritual practice is indeed an expensive thing. In fact, these 2 medicines are not difficult for Shen Yizi to refine. She has all the medicinal materials in her space. She can refine a large batch at any time if she wants. But as the saying goes, scarcity is more valuable, so she deliberately controlled the number of pills entering the market. Hence, even with Zhong Wen's financial resources and skills, it is extremely difficult to buy pills produced by Cure Demon. This is why she agreed so readily when Shen Yizi proposed paying the bill with pills. The pills that were just ordinary in Shen Yizi's eyes were worth thousands of gold to her. Hence, exchanging 3 spiritual plants for 3 bottles of pills produced by the medical demon is a great deal in her opinion. And Shen Yizi also felt very satisfied. Both parties found this cooperation very pleasant. Zhong Wen took out another wooden box, which contained a fresh spiritual plant with a fishy smell of earth. Huang Sheng asked me to give this to you. He was very grateful when you saved his brother last time. When he learned that you placed an order to collect natural materials and treasures, he accepted the order. This plant is his thank you gift. Shen Yizi stroked the bright green leaves of the spiritual plant and felt a little in his heart. The last time she saved someone, it was firstly out of the professional ethics of a doctor and not willing to ignore death, and secondly out of selfish desire to gain merit. I had no intention of repaying anything. But now that she got a spiritual plant for nothing because of her rescue act, she still felt happy. Well, I'll accept it. Please help me pass this bottle of body tempering pill to him. Shen Yizi turned his wrist and handed over another bottle of pills. Ian looked surprised, then smiled, and said, "Young Master Shen is really generous." When she took the medicine bottle from her hand, her fingers painted with bright red danko seemed to scratch the back of her hand, and her eyes sparkled. Shen Yizi. She was seduced. Hey, it seems like I have to make my appearance more ordinary next time, otherwise it will be bad if I owe some romantic debts. Shen Yizi has a lot of mental activities, but his face is calm. Miss Ian, I have no shortage of pills, but I hope that your Quanfaja can do things more efficiently. Ian felt a little uncomfortable when she saw that he was not affected by her beauty at all, but she still had a smile on her face. That's easy to say. Shen Yizi paused when he walked to the door. Miss Ian, do you really want me to take action against Dr. Zhong's eyes? It's really frustrating to see the merit points right in front of you but out of reach. Zhong Wen sighed softly. Wu Qi said he was used to it, but he couldn't adapt to it after being cured. But she knew that he was actually just afraid of being disappointed again. The patient is unwilling to be cured, and no one else can do anything. However, Zhong Wuqi is really strange. He would rather be blind than cured. Well. Heartache. As soon as Shen Yizi left, Dongming rushed in, transforming from a cat body into a human form. Sister Yan, that person just now was pretended to be Shen Yizi. Shen Yizi's famous Zhong Wen has long been heard of. He has superb medical skills. The Shen's medical clinic he opened is now famous in Zhenlang City. The leader of the latest Kunfang club, and through this, he has established a relationship with the city lord's palace, and has a close relationship with him. The cosmeceuticals produced are popular throughout Langcheng and surrounding towns, and are spreading to surrounding towns at an extremely fast speed. I heard that she has made another big move recently, and it seems that she is going to build a resort. To be honest, Zhong Wen quite admired her and was looking for a chance to meet this Miss Shen, firstly to see who the legendary miracle doctor was, and secondly, for the sake of his younger brother's eyes. Perhaps Shen Yizi can cure her. It's hard to live up to her reputation, but until now, Shen Yizi has never been heard of. Even those diseases that have been diagnosed as terminal illnesses by other doctors can be cured by her medicine. But now, what did she hear? The Shen San who was discussing business with her before was actually Shen Yizi, whom she had been friends with for a long time. Dongming, did you read that correctly? She still understood Dongming's abilities. It's not that she doesn't believe what she said, it's just a little hard to accept. When she thought of how she had flirted with her and seduced her earlier, she wanted to fight for it with her head. I don't know why Shen Yizi was laughing at her at that time. No wonder she has always been calm about her. It turns out that she is not just pretending, but that she is a woman and is not interested in her at all. Dongming looked at her changing expression and couldn't help asking, "Sister Yan, what's wrong? What's wrong?" Zhong Wen slumped down on the chair weakly. She was so embarrassed. "You little girl, you didn't tell me earlier." Zhong Wen pinched Dongming's face lightly. Thinking of something, she sat up in shock. "No, I have to call her back." Shen Yizi had not gone far at this time. After coming out of Rouge Tower, she happened to meet Zhong Yuki who was coming back from outside. He was alone, and there was no medicine boy with him. But the way he walked was no different from that of a normal person, as if every section of the road was firmly imprinted in his mind. It would be fine if this person was a monk. Monks have spiritual consciousness. The scene detected by the spiritual consciousness is reflected in the mind like a three-dimensional infrared 3D image. Therefore, even if the monk cannot see it, it will not hinder anything at all. But Zhong Yuki was an out-and-out mortal. The fact that he can do this must be the result of practicing countless times. Shen Yizi couldn't help but follow him, wanting to see how far he could go. When walking down the steps, Zhong Yuki suddenly stepped on the ground. "Be careful," Shen Yizhi stepped forward to support him, preventing him from falling down the steps. "Miss Shen has followed me all the way, but is there something wrong?" Zhong Yuki said calmly. It turns out that this person had discovered it a long time ago. Shen Yizi felt a little embarrassed and touched his nose. "You really don't want to regain your light?" Shen Yizi looked into his eyes. Zhong Yuki accurately walked down the steps and walked towards his bamboo house. "If Miss Shen wants to give it a try, I don't mind. Most doctors like to challenge difficult problems." When he thought about it, Miss Shen probably wanted to challenge herself to see if she could cure her eyes. However, the master of the pavilion has made it clear that if his eyes are to be cured, only those with healing spiritual roots can do it. There is nothing wrong with his eyes. The reason why he is blind is because there is a mass of evil energy lingering in his brain. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 257. Mortal doctors are helpless against evil spirits, and monks who practice medicine are also helpless against evil spirits. Because the monk's body is filled with spiritual energy, and demonic energy and spiritual energy are inherently at odds with each other. Once the monk's spiritual energy enters his mind and tries to expel the demonic energy, he will immediately be met with a crazy counterattack by the demonic energy. It would be fine if the demonic energy is somewhere else, but it is the most important place, the brain. Once the demonic energy and spiritual energy start fighting in his mind, can he still be okay? Maybe he will be made a fool by the two forces, or even worse, he may die. Fortunately, that mass of demonic energy has stayed peacefully in his mind all these years without causing trouble, otherwise he might not be alive now. Demon energy comes from the demon clan, and in the Tianyuan world, there is no suitable living environment for the demon clan. Spiritual practitioners who fall into this world can still struggle to survive, but when the demon clan comes here, there is only one way to die. Like a fish out of water, it won't live long at all. So he couldn't find a demon to expel the demonic energy from his mind. Although monks with healing spiritual roots also follow the path of spiritual cultivation, the spiritual power cultivated by healing monks is completely different from the other 5 elements of spiritual power. It is a power that has its own laws. He is born to be the nemesis of those evil spirits, death spirits, etc. In the face of healing spiritual power, demonic energy can only melt ice and snow. And how rare is it to have a healing spiritual root? The pavilion master said that even in the upper realm, it is a rare existence that is 1 in a billion. Hence, Zhongyuki never had any hope of curing his eyes. Instead of holding on to unrealistic illusions, it is better to try to get used to the darkness. "Sir, are you back?" The medicine boy who was drying medicine in the yard saw Zhongyuki and said hello cheerfully. Zhongyuki turned to the direction of the sound and nodded. The Yaotong obviously still remembered Shenyazi and gave her a shy smile. Shenyazi took out a small box of toffee from his purse and said, "Take it and eat it." The medicine boy held the candy box, opened it, took one and put it into his mouth. The rich milky flavor melted in his mouth. It was delicious. The main room is very empty. A 20-fold bamboo screen divides the room into 2 rooms, the inside and the outside. A square low table is placed in the outside room, and a bamboo mat is spread under the low table. There is a piano table by the window with a piano on it. Other than that, there are no unnecessary decorations in the house. Zhongyuki walked behind the low table, knelt down and made an invitation gesture to Shenyazi. Shenyazi sat down opposite him. Without her having to say anything, Zhongyuki took the initiative to put his hand on the table and rolled up his sleeves twice, revealing a stretch of his bright wrist. Shenyazi looked at the man in front of him who looked like a bright moonlight, and put his fingers on his wrist. His expression was always calm, as if he didn't care about the results of her diagnosis. After a long while, Shenyazi withdrew his hand, but Zhongyuki said nothing. "Dr. Zhon, aren't you curious about what my diagnosis is?" Zhongyuki's raven black eyelashes trembled slightly. "What's the outcome?" "I'm mentally prepared. Miss Shen really doesn't need to hit me again." The tone was slightly self-deprecating. Shenyazi picked up the teapot, poured himself a cup of tea, and took a sip. "Oh? What if I say I can cure it? Is this still a blow?" Zhongwen and Dongming happened to hear the sentence when they came over. Asterisk. As the sun set, Shenyazi had changed back into women's clothes and walked lightly on the way back to the village. The smoky sunlight fell on her, giving her a bright and warm light. Presumably he will be able to see it when Zhongyuki wakes up. The treatment process was easier than Shenyazi expected. The demonic energy in Zhongyuki's mind was completely helpless in the face of her spiritual power and was purified directly. Once the evil spirit is gone, the culprit that caused his blindness will no longer be there, and he will be able to regain his sight in a short time. Shenyazi felt a great sense of accomplishment for being able to restore the eyesight of a beautiful man to see the world, but what surprised her even more was the merit points gained after curing Zhongyuki. There are actually a full 10 points. Convert it into points to get 1000 points. This wave has made a lot of money. Shenyazi hummed a tune unconsciously, but her good mood disappeared after returning to the village. "Girl," a worker at the construction site accidentally fell off the ladder. Ganwu walked out in a hurry. When he saw Shenyazi, he hurriedly came up to greet her. "What? Is the injury serious? How are you doing now?" Shenyazi asked a series of questions. "The injury is serious. Dr. Wang is treating her now, but the situation is not optimistic, so let me go find you. Shen Yizi's heart sank, and he used his lightning skills to rush to the hospital. Amu and others were waiting outside nervously. When they saw Shen Yizi, their dim eyes suddenly brightened. "Girl. Don't worry, I will save you." After saying this, Shen Yizi had already strode in. In the operating room, Wang Hexian was treating the injured patient's injuries in an orderly manner. When the injured person fell down, he was stabbed through by sharp objects underneath, and his legs were broken. Fortunately, his head and spine were not injured, otherwise even if Shen Yizi came, he might not be able to save himself. If it had been in the past, Wang Hexian would have been helpless when seeing such serious injuries, but after coming here, she learned a lot of modern medical methods from Shen Yizi, and also watched her perform several surgeries, so now it's quite easy to deal with such injuries. But after all, the time was still short, and he was still unable to operate on the injured person alone, so he asked Ganwu to find Shen Yizi from the beginning. Seeing Shen Yizi come in, he was really relieved. Unconsciously, he was impressed by her medical skills and various miraculous methods. It seemed that with her around, there was no disease that could not be cured or anyone that could not be saved. As soon as he saw her, Wang Hexian felt at ease. Shen Yizi didn't waste any time. He quickly performed a cleaning technique on himself, put on his white coat, and stepped forward to check on the injured person. "Mr. Wang, I'm here to operate on him. Please help me." "Good." Night fell, but no one like Amu and others who were standing outside the hospital left. Finally, Shen Yizi walked out. "Girl, how is Huzi?" Azu rushed over immediately and asked impatiently. After asking, he was filled with anxiety, for fear of hearing an answer that would make his heart stop. Huzi is her only remaining relative in this world, and she can never bear the pain of losing him. Shen Yizi smiled and said, "It's okay. He has been rescued. He will be alive and kicking again after being raised for a while." Everyone couldn't believe it. Huzi's blood-covered appearance was still imprinted in their minds. He was so seriously injured and was actually rescued. They had heard about how good Miss Shen's medical skills were before, but now they have real experience. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 258. Seeing that they were all dumbfounded, Shen Yizi stepped aside and said, "If you don't believe me, go and see for yourself, but try to stay quiet and don't let too many people in, otherwise it will affect the patient's recovery." Azuru woke up from the dream and wanted to take steps to walk in, but his feet went limp as soon as he lifted them up. Fortunately, Amu next to her helped her in time, otherwise she would have definitely fallen to the bottom. The sky was completely dark. Shen Yizi looked at his watch and saw that it was already past 8 o'clock. "Huzi is fine now, let's go back and rest after seeing people." She took off her white coat and left the hospital. Back home, Shen Yizi took a comfortable bath to wash away the smell from his body, put on soft pajamas, and then went upstairs. The room was a little too quiet. Anyone who has raised children knows that when children are too quiet, they usually do not do anything good. Shen Yizi was already prepared to face a mess, but when he stepped into the house, what he saw was two little babies lying quietly in front of a low table, writing and drawing. She walked over gently and took the two children into her arms. "What are Yuanbao and Nian Nian doing?" Yuanbao handed a painting he drew to her. "Mother, does it look good?" "The picture on the paper is clearly her. And the painting is quite good, it really doesn't look like it was painted by a 3-year-old child." But when she thought about Yuanbao's actual identity, she felt that she couldn't treat him as a normal child. Shen Yizi took the painting over in surprise. "The painting is really good. Our Yuanbao will definitely be a great painter in the future." Yuanbao squinted his eyes in joy, revealing his small white teeth, which were so cute that he wanted to take a bite. Nian Nian covered up what she had written so that Shen Yazi could not read it. Unable to hide, he stuffed the paper directly under his and sat down, then looked at her with a pair of big innocent eyes. Shen Yazi couldn't stop laughing in his heart. Well, since Nian Nian doesn't want to show it to Aunt, then I won't take it seriously. That was obviously impossible. When Nian Nian lay down on the bed and Shen Yazi was cleaning up, he immediately found the big characters she had written. Looking at the big characters with almost separated strokes, and thinking about how Nian Nian had refused to let her see it before, she burst into laughter. This word is really ugly. It was time for video communication again every 3 days. Shen Yazi took pictures of the two children's works and sent them to Gu Switting so that he could appreciate them. There is always endless talk between lovers, and the time goes late into the night before you know it. Even if they have nothing to talk about, they can still talk a lot about useless love talk, not to mention that a lot of things have happened around them these past few days. It's even more endless when you talk about it. Okay, it will be done before we continue chatting. Good night. Okay, good night. The light on the shadow stone dimmed. Shen Yazi rolled on the bed with the shadow stone in his arms, got up and started practicing. Practice is actually a very comfortable thing, not to mention that as she practices, she becomes more and more beautiful and powerful. This feeling is addictive. Asterisk. Is this where Hyuza fell yesterday? After breakfast, Shen Yazi came to the construction site to learn about Hyuza's injury yesterday. Amu stayed by her side and answered her questions. Shen Yazi checked it and ruled out human factors. It was indeed an accident. But there were about 30 warriors and monks at the scene. When the tiger fell, no one found it in time and tried to save him. Of course, this was her suspicion, and it was impossible to question Xiaoming and the others with this. However, this incident reminded her that it was necessary to install monitoring in some key locations. The recording stone can meet the requirements just right. It can be fixed in a hidden position with a good view, open it throughout the day, and replenish the spiritual energy regularly, so that everything that happens within its recording range can be recorded. In this way, if any accident happens in the future, she will be able to understand what happened. Shen Yazi handed over the installation of surveillance equipment to Xiaoming. She took out a dozen shadow stones, told him how to use them, and then left them alone. Xiaoming looked at the shadow stone in his hand and was shocked. There is such a magic weapon that can record what happened. And Shen Yazi also took out several pieces at once. Her background is probably deeper than I imagined. Asterisk. Mr. Luo, come and try my newly brewed gin wine. Shen Yazi poured a glass of wine for Luo Yao Yao. The wine was amber in color and crystal clear. Luo Yao Yao was not in a hurry to taste it, but glanced at the dishes on the table first. Compared with the usual dishes, today's table is obviously much more elaborate. He slowly took a sip of the wine. The wine was mellow in the mouth, clear and sweet, like a clear and soft sweet spring flowing into his throat. It was so beautiful. Tell me, girl, this is both delicious food and fine wine. I'm afraid there is something that needs an old man like me. Not only for Gu Switting and Qingbao's sake, but just because of her superb cooking skills, he wouldn't refute her, would he? Shen Yazi scooped him a bowl of crispy carrot and duck soup, and then revealed his plan. I want to learn how to draw talismans from you. She didn't beat around the bush because there was no need. Luo Yao Yao gnawed on the duck leg. Reason. Use it. If I learn how to draw talismans myself, many things will be much more convenient, and I can also sell them for money, Shen Yazi said very frankly. I didn't make up any lofty reasons just because I wanted to learn how to draw talismans. And what she said was clearly to Luo Yao Yao's liking, and he actually burst into laughter. Back then, I learned how to draw talismans because I was too poor. Compared with refining alchemy and refining tools, talismans and seals were much easier to learn and less expensive. However, after I jumped in, I realized that drawing talismans was not as good as I thought. It's so easy. If you want to learn, I will teach you, but whether you can learn it or how much you can learn depends on your own destiny. Thank you, Mr. Luo. Shen Yizi was overjoyed. He didn't expect that things would be done so easily. Luo Yao glanced at her sideways. Huh? Still calling me Mr. Luo? Shen Yizi cleverly changed his words, Master. The sound of master made Luo Yao feel comfortable all over. How can a disciple's wife be as close as the disciple? From now on, in the name of master, will he be able to make requests openly and honestly? Good disciple, I don't have anything to give you as a teacher, just take this talisman pen. Luo Yao took out a talisman pen and handed it over. The talisman pen is red sandalwood color, and there are no carved patterns on the whole body. It is just a bare and slippery pen. It is extremely simple. And it looked very old, so those who didn't know thought it was collected from some nook and cranny. Luo Yao gave it casually, but Shen Yizi didn't dare to take it casually, so he took the pen with both hands. The moment the talisman pen came into her hands, her expression changed and she was almost pushed to the ground. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 259. This small talisman pen is actually so heavy. With her current level of cultivation, she can carry hundreds of kilograms of things with ease without even frowning. However, this talisman pen is far beyond her endurance. Luo Yao had expected it, but deliberately did not remind her. Seeing that she was holding back her face and turned red, she said, the name of this pen is Jingtian, and the body of the pen is made from the core of 10,000 years of falling wood. The brush hair is selected from the tip of the snow shadow wolf's tail. It was struck by lightning several times when it was completed. Now this is not suitable for you to use. If you admit it, put it away. Shen Yizi did as he was told. After recognizing the owner, a vague sense of closeness came from Jingtian's pen, but the weight of the pen did not lighten at all. She hurriedly put the pen into the space. After dinner, while teasing Qingbao, Luo Yao taught Shen Yizi the knowledge of drawing talismans. If a worker wants to do his job well, he must first sharpen his tools. The same goes for drawing talismans. To draw talismans, pens, inks, paper and inkstones are indispensable. The 4 items used to draw talismans are very different from the ordinary 4 treasures of the study. The talisman brush has been given to you, but it can't be used yet, so in the beginner stage you have to find someone else to make a talisman pen that suits you. If you can't find it, you can only buy it, but the bought one may not be suitable for you. Talk paper. When drawing talismans, the spiritual power moves on the paper. Ordinary paper cannot bear it at all, so paper made of spiritual wood must be used. The fur of spiritual animals is also a good material. Spiritual ink and inkstone. The refining of the talisman is also very particular. Drawing a talisman is not just a matter of drawing a few strokes on the paper. These basic skills must also be mastered. What if one day I run out of talisman paper and run out of ink, then I have to do it myself. Shen Yizi was taught and kept nodding his head. But these are all external objects. When you master the art of drawing talismans, you can use your fingers as a pen, spiritual power as ink, and heaven and earth as carriers to draw talismans as you please without being bound by these external objects. Luo Yao looked distant, as if he was remembering those glorious past. Shen Yizi imagined the scene he described and couldn't help but feel excited. If you want to reach that state, you have to go at least a long way. Yi Chang, more than that. The realm that the old man mentioned is not something that ordinary people can achieve. As far as I know, only the legendary talisman saint can achieve it throughout the ages, and others don't even have to think about it. Shenyazi. Emotions. Is this newly recognized master trying to trick her? His expression and tone just now made her think that she could do what only the talisman saint could do with just a little effort. You first memorize all the runes in this booklet before you get the runes. You can practice them with ordinary paper and pen. Luo Yao Yao threw over a thick book with the simple words Fuzhuan Encyclopedia written on the cover. Shenyazi opened it and found various runes inside, from easy to difficult, from simple to complex and back to simple, which well explain the principle of the Great Road to Simplicity. But these runes all have one thing in common, that is, whether they are simple or complex, they are all drawn in one stroke, from beginning to end, without any breaks in between. From this day on, apart from practicing to cure diseases and raise children, Shenyazi had another task, to practice drawing talismans. Asterisk. Uncle Wang. Shenyazi stepped into the blacksmith shop. After getting to know Wang Kantang, she called him Uncle Wang. Wang Kantang took out a sword embryo from the stove and immersed it in cold water. The water made a violent gurgling sound and stirred up a puff of white smoke. What are you going to build this time? After the movement in the water calmed down a little, he took out the sword embryo, picked up the hammer and struck it hard. When he exerted force, the muscles on his arms swelled, and he looked full of strength. The sound of the hammer colliding with the sword embryo was sonorous and clear, and seemed to contain some kind of pattern. Shenyazi came here this time to ask him to refine a talisman pen for himself. Yesterday, her master asked her to find someone to make a talisman pen, and she thought of him immediately. She was very satisfied with the utensils she had asked him to build previously. But this time, he may not be able to handle this talisman at the moment. Since the talisman pen is a magic weapon, spiritual energy is rarely used in the refining process. However, Wang Kantang has lost all his cultivation. Even if he has the knowledge of a master of weapon refining, he will be blind without spiritual energy. Just like a computer expert, no matter how skilled he is, he can't do anything without a computer. So if she wants him to help her make a talisman pen, she must first help him restore his cultivation. After all, she didn't know any other weapon refiners. If you spend money to buy it, the talisman pen you buy may not be as smooth and customized as she wants. And I'm afraid she won't be able to buy it in a short time, and she doesn't want to wait any longer. Of course, she could actually buy it directly from the grocery store, but she looked at it and found that the price of the magic weapon was not cheap. Since she could find someone to refine it, why spend the wasted money? No points. In addition, there was another consideration. After so many contacts, she had enough knowledge about Wang Kantang. He was a man of few words but with excellent professional skills, which was more to her liking. She wanted to help him. When Wang Kantang recovers, based on their friendship, won't she be equivalent to having a royal weapon refiner in the future? In front of magical weapons, those magical weapons in the eyes of mortals are not worth mentioning at all. She felt that she would have to build magic weapons quite a lot in the future. To sum up, she felt it was time to speak out. Uncle Wang, do you want to practice again? Wang Kantang paused and looked at her with his usually calm eyes. He suddenly smiled and said, "Why don't you want to? It's just that the meridians in my body have been severed. Unless I take the meridian renewal pill, it would be a fool's dream to start practicing again." Male continuing pill? Yi Chang, the meridian renewal pill is a real elixir, and it is a 5th level elixir. As its name suggests, the pill can connect broken meridians. You don't have to think about it for the time being. Shenyazi didn't expect Wang Kantang's internal injuries to be so serious. "Uncle Wang, can you let me take a look?" Wang Kantang didn't refuse. He wiped the sweat from his face, walked to the table, sat down on the stool with a straight face, and stretched out a strong bronze arm. Judging from his appearance alone, he was extremely healthy. He could easily knock over a pig with one punch. However, When Shen Yazi diagnosed him, he discovered how bad his internal condition was. The meridians were full of cracks, and some were even broken. I don't know how he managed to remain calm on his face. It must be painful, right? After practicing medicine for so long, Shen Yazi finally encountered a symptom that left her helpless. Yu Chang, is there no other way besides the pulse renewal pill? Didn't you say that my spiritual power has a healing effect? That's true, you can try it. Shen Yazi said to Wang Kantang, Uncle Wang, I have a method that may cure you, but I hope you can cooperate with me. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 260. After a while, Wang Kantang took a tranquilizer pill she gave him and fell asleep. If he remains awake, her spiritual power will inevitably encounter obstacles when entering his body. This is due to the monk's instinct to protect himself. But you don't have to worry about this when you go to sleep. When Wang Kantang woke up, Shen Yazi had already left. He sat up, and when he was halfway up, he suddenly froze. His cultivation level has actually recovered a little. Although it was only a trivial thing, it was enough to make him ecstatic. Because this means that he can practice again. He took an internal look at the situation inside his body, and when he saw that all the broken meridians had been repaired, he felt a panic in his heart. The meridians are not only repaired, but are also stronger and wider than before. If the meridians are compared to pipes, then all the ruptured and clogged pipes in his body have now been repaired and cleaned up. Wang Kantang clenched his fists and felt a long-lost strength. A sour smell filled the tip of his nose. He frowned and realized that the smell came from him. A layer of oily black impurities appeared on the surface of the skin. Wang Kantang walked directly to the yard, fetched a bucket of water and poured it down with his head covered over his face. He felt so happy that he almost wanted to look up to the sky and scream. After taking a shower, water beads rolled down his body, but he didn't care. He walked straight to the blacksmith's room and repeatedly hit the sword embryo with the hammer. Compared with before, he was much easier to hammer now, as if he was holding a piece of grass instead of a hammer weighing dozens of kilograms. Master, you're awake, Qin Bin heard the commotion and came in to take a look. He was pleasantly surprised to see the lively master. Well, what did Miss Shen say before she left? Wang Kantang asked. Qin Bin hurriedly brought the drawings and refining materials left by Shen Yazi. Miss Shen asked you to help me make a talisman pen. Wang Kantang took the drawing and looked at it, and he had an idea. He would not have been able to do it before, but now, it is not difficult to create such a talisman pen. The reason why Miss Shen saved him was partly due to this consideration, right? But no matter what her purpose was, it was undeniable that she saved him and allowed him to practice again. She was very kind to him. He will definitely refine this talisman pen for her with all his heart. In the space, Shen Yazi was sleeping soundly. This time she was repairing Wang Kantang's meridians. She was really tired. She was so tired that she didn't even want to take the posture of practicing. She just wanted to throw herself on the bed and sleep in the dark. With her current level of cultivation at the 5th level of Qi refining, the spiritual power in her body will be exhausted after repairing a small section of meridians, so she can only replenish it continuously. She didn't know how many times she poured in the spiritual liquid before she could finish it. However, in this process, not only the aura but also the spirit is consumed. Her consciousness is always paying attention to the meridians in Wang Kantang's body. While carefully controlling her spiritual power to repair the meridians, she must also be careful not to overwhelm his already precarious meridians with too much output. It's really physically and mentally exhausted. Treatment was far more difficult than she imagined. But fortunately she persisted in the end. After this battle, her control of spiritual power has reached a new level. After a good sleep, Shen Yazi came back to life with full health the next day, and there were faint signs of a breakthrough. You know, it hasn't been long since she broke through the 5th level of chi refining. In this world with thin spiritual energy, it would take other people an unknown amount of time to break through a small realm, ranging from 3 to 5 years to several years at most. But as for her, in just half a year, she went from practicing as a mortal to the 5th level of chi refining. Speaking of it, I don't know how many people will be transformed into lemon essence. After dinner, Shen Yizi went into the study room to practice daily runes. This is easy for her. Soon, simple or complex runes were left on the paper. Runes are the embodiment of Taoism and rules. Even if a monk has an excellent memory, it is not easy to write them down. Because this is no ordinary text. This is the first difficulty in learning to draw symbols. People without talent, like people with dyslexia, find it difficult to write down the runes. I can't even remember it, let alone draw it. But Shen Yizi has no worries about this. It is very simple for her to write down these runes, and it is not much more difficult than memorizing the writing method of a font. Perhaps she is a genius at drawing talismans. Shen Yizi was a little complacent. Yi Chang poured cold water on her. Where is this? When you actually draw the talisman, you will know the difficulty. If you are not careful, you will fail. Shen Yizi felt a shiver in his heart. As one of the 4 mainstream skills in the world of cultivating immortals, the alchemy talisman formation artifact would not be easy to draw. Otherwise, the talisman seal master would have been ruined long ago. She must not be complacent just because of this small achievement. The test may come when she actually draws the talisman. 3 days later, Shen Yizi had memorized the encyclopedia of talisman and seal script that Luo Yaoyao gave him, and bought a bunch of extracurricular readings about talisman and seal script from the grocery store. Learn more about this course. Books in the grocery store are sold relatively cheaply. According to Kinkayu, this is a discount given to her because of her status as the master of the God Emperor Pearl Trial. Shen Yizi simply bought many other books and read them as extracurricular readings to increase his knowledge. There are very few books in the world of immortality on paper, and most of them are recorded on jade slips. A small jade slip contains countless knowledge. With one sweep of her consciousness, she was able to memorize all the contents inside, and she was able to understand them all. This is all the blessing of divine consciousness. Such a relaxed way of learning made Shen Yizi addicted to reading. If she had this skill in the original world, she might not have become of learning. However, for immortal cultivators, only strength and immortality are their eternal pursuits. Being knowledgeable or anything like that has no appeal to them at all. Unless that knowledge is useful to them. Of course, among all kinds of knowledge, Shen Yizi is most interested in his own profession, medicine. Absorbing it eagerly every night has greatly increased her knowledge in medicine. Girl, there is Master Wan Kantang looking for you outside. Kun San reported at the door. Wan Kantang? Has the talisman pen been created? He actually delivered it to the door in person. Shen Yizi put down his pen and walked out quickly. Miss Shen Wan Kantang stood up from the chair and handed her the long box placed on the high table. Shen Yizi opened the box and found a jade-colored pen inside. The bristles of the brush were soft and round, with a faint purple light at the end, which is called purple hair. This purple hair comes from the bunch of rabbits she keeps in her space, and is selected from the small tuft of hair on the rabbit's tail. She picked it up, shook it, and tried to write a few words. Well, it worked very well. I love so much. Hearing this, Wan Kantang felt relieved and took out a small round box from his arms.